Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to our first program of the year. And we're talking about Mr. President's New Year Day speech. He has wished Nigerians a prosperous new year filled with joy, success, and good health, where collective desires will be fulfilled. The President, in his New Year message, promised massive food production and resolute to reduce inflation from its current high of 34.6% to 15%. It said this will also promote local manufacturing of essential drugs and other medical supplies in the new year. According to the president, the new company expected to begin operations before the end of the second quarter of the new year is a partnership of government institutions, including the Bank of Industry, Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Agency, as well as the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, and the private sector and multilateral institutions. President Tinubu also assured Nigerians the sacrifices in the last 19 months will not be in vain, and that the youth confab will begin in the first quarter of this year. Many hopes, aspirations, and prospects for better days. Richard Adeyinka is data analyst and CEO, Data Home Research and Communication. He joins me on the program today to discuss the update we're getting from the presidency. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Adeyinka. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Nigerians. Welcome to 2025. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us as well. Let's begin with what appears Mr. President's communication strategy. This is perhaps the second time we're hearing from him in recent weeks following his maiden media chat. How do you assess the effectiveness of his communication strategy? Do you think this frequency of engagement will continue? And what do you make of it at this time?
Oh, thank you. Talking about communication effectiveness, for any professional communicator, there are certain factors, parameters that determine communication effectiveness. Marshall McLuhan made a statement, famous statement called, said the medium is the message. No matter what you are doing, no matter what you are communicating, there are certain factors you have to take cognizance of and address before the communication can be effective. If not, you could be doing it every day, nobody will listen. They may be hearing, but they won't listen. They may be hearing your voice, but they may not get the content, what exactly it is you are saying, because some things are impeding the communication effectiveness. For instance, the president, his media chats, and then this New Year message. Now, what is it that people are thinking? Is what people are thinking aligning with the thinking of the president? Are they motivated enough to sit down and say, we want to listen to the president, let alone get the main thing that the president is saying? We are talking about, for instance, hunger and its attendant effect. We have the stampede at Ibadan. We have that of Abuja. We have that of Anambra. It tells you that some things are happening that may be impeding the communication effectiveness. Forget the channel. Forget the message. Now, will people sit down and listen to the president? So, communication, for it to be effective, must have some foundation to build on. I'm not sure that foundation is there. Yes, party members may sit down and listen, and the lovers of the president, who may not necessarily members of his party, may also sit down and listen to him. What about the neutrals? What about the people that are neither APC or is a fan for instance, will they sit down and will they even look forward to it? That I want to sit down on the 1st of January to listen to the president. So it's all part of what we are discussing and what the president is trying to explain as what he will do, So hopefully he will be able to address that so that as he is talking, people are looking forward to it. Indeed. That the president says this, hold him to it, it will come to pass.
Mr. Adeyinka, I'm just wondering what implications these concerns you have expressed might have for government's relationship with the public and the media.
The implication is simply that you are talking, but people are not listening to you. And if you look at his appointment too, those that are speaking for him, I made mention of Marshal McLuhan's, the medium is the message. If you are talking, if you are asking a Daniel Bola, for instance, to explain when the president himself is not talking to Nigerians, if Daniel Bola, for instance, is the one speaking to Nigerians about government policies and how they have affected Nigerians, and then what the government is trying to do to bring down the effects. You look at the image of Daniel Bola, for instance, is this someone people will sit down and listen to? I'm not sure. I've not conducted a study to that effect, but the image of the speaker speaks volume on communication effectiveness. So what it means in a nutshell is that you may want to speak to the people, but people are really not keen.
Well, Mr. Adeyinka, some will say the good thing is there are 3 of them. If you don't like one, you probably will listen to 2 others. But there is what the president's supporters have called economic empathy and resonance. So we've heard Mr. President acknowledge in the 2 different times we've heard him speak recently, the economic challenges Nigerians are faced with, especially in the outgone year. They consider this quite refreshing. You don't believe this message resonates with the people?
Well, for instance, let's look at what he said last year. That is 2024, New Year Day 2024. In the area, what he promised. To what extent have what he promised materialized? Now the president promised to work on food inflation. Let me just mention some key points of his 2024 New Year address. Reliable electricity supply. Now we can say that even the grid has collapsed 24 times. The year that ended alone, taking some days, 2 days, 24 hours, for instance. So will that give people confidence? Now, it talks about restarting local refining of petroleum products. Yes, Port Harcourt has started some days ago.
But before we move to oil and gas, you don't think that's one side of the story, the national grid collapsing? I have also witnessed a remarkable improvement in power supply with the introduction of the, just a minute, with the introduction of the cost-reflective tariff system. So that's perhaps also another dimension to it, the fact that we're not telling the complete story. The reason why the national grid is collapsing is perhaps because people now have more light, and then the problem has moved from we don't have enough light to we cannot afford it, and now to we don't even have the infrastructure to keep the light on. Do you think Nigerians are fair enough to address these issues holistically?
Well, I think the gain of Band-Aid, for instance, is being eroded by the amount of money people pay to get that Band-Aid. And when you look at it, you see, Nigerians are connected. Our societies are connected. If you have, for instance, in Dagada, if you have a Band-Aid in Dagada, and then you have a mother who lives somewhere in Mushin, or who lives somewhere in Ajegunle or in Okukumaiko, the fact that your mother is not getting it because the band is extremely bad. If you go to Ikorodu, some people have been speaking that 6 days they've not had electricity. So you look at it that it affects people differently. For those in Band-Aid, yes, they may have a minimum of 20 hours. But at the same time, what they have to cough out to meet that 24 hours, they have electricity, but they have to switch off so many things. Even the Minister of Power said it, that people should not leave their freezer on. That's so when you are going, even when you are at home, you switch off your electricity in the room, you are in the sitting room, you are afraid of turning on AC, you are in the room, you are afraid of turning on TV and fan.
And I get your concern, and I understand it. I have heard the narrative of affordability, but there are some Nigerians who would also say they prefer this one. At least you know what you are paying for. Unlike the days where what you have is estimated billing, irrespective of what you have paid, you can't tell whether when there will be light or when there won't be light. That's one. That's one side of the story. The other side of the story would be that, you know what, now we can tell in places where they have to pay, you call them band A, they now have at least not less than 18 hours of power supply. We've never seen it that good prior to this time. And it speaks to the policy of government that says perhaps Nigerians have been used to getting these things free. It's the same story behind full subsidy, the removal of full subsidy. And there's no place in the world where you get these things free and you still get the quality of service. One thing that has been proven, in my opinion, and I'm trying to be as balanced and fair and accurate as possible, is to say that one thing this administration has proven is that if you want to get a quality service, you have to be ready to pay for it. Perhaps the question we should be asking is, how affordable, are these things for the average Nigerians? But how do we balance that conversation with the reality on ground from what we've seen in 1999? Nigerians, everything is subsidized, but it's not working.
Yes, it is not working, but at the same time, look at it. We are talking about residential. That is what brought us to the issue of band A. You have to put up this and use this and that. But look at a university, for instance. Look at University of Lagos, where the bill has risen to as high as 300 million per month. Where will the university get it from? Look at how many months or days it took UCH in Ibadan to have electricity, to the extent that the staff even had to protest that it can't go on like this. So government must find a balance between affordability and availability. Yes, it is good that we have cost-reflective tariff. At the same time, we should have the status of Nigerians should be considered when we are putting up this. It looks fantastic on paper that yes, you can even argue that it is unprecedented that everywhere in the world there is nowhere electricity is being subsidized. Fine. But look at our economic situation. Look at the people you expect that they will pay this. Now you have a situation whereby many people pay, no matter how small they are able to pay. The discos or the gencos or the transmission company will still be able to make money. But in a situation whereby only a fraction of the population can pay and are getting the service, what about others who can pay as much as those in band A, but they can pay something? So who is looking at that? So yes, government must find a balance. It looks good. Yes, in my own house, I can have electricity for 20 hours because I'm under band A. Yes, and I can, no matter how expensive, I still can afford it. But then not everybody can afford it. So government must find a balance between availability and affordability. Not to close the eyes entirely to say those who cannot afford it should go and die. They are Nigerians. If we don't take care of their interests, they will find a way to tap electricity anywhere they can find it. And it won't be good for them.
And that might sabotage the whole essence.
That's the game that we are trying to to establish.
Let's talk about the economic indicators and outlook that Mr. President has been talking about recently. He highlighted several positive economic indicators, including decrease in fuel prices, foreign trade surpluses, a strengthened naira, and the list is long. What really do you make of what's your analysis of these indices? Do you think they accurately reflect the state of our economy?
Oh, well, since President Bola Tinubu came on board, one thing has been constant in its public communication, and that is the fact that government book looks good now. The states now have more money. More money is going to them, regardless of how they spend it. Local government will have autonomy to spend their money and all of that. Foreign investments and all what he talked about. Fantastic. On paper, they are good. However, we should not close our eyes to the fact that people should matter to be central to government policies and programs. As a matter of fact, they should influence it. And that is why government, anywhere programs or policies are being implemented, you have constant evaluation of those programs. Are they meeting the target? The president doesn't want to sit down and defend what is not true. The president can say, yes, I've done this looking at government paper. You say, yes, so millions or billions of dollars are coming in foreign investments, and then government's book, now we have improved our revenue, the states are getting more money and all of that. They look good on paper. Fantastic. However, we also need to look at the other side of it, which is the people themselves. All these programs, the health of Nigerians is the health of Nigeria. When Nigerians are good, not all of them, but a greater number of them, when they are good, when they can afford some things as little as food, gari, ingredients to make soup, pot of soup, to buy fish in the market, to even buy pomo, as some people have said that pomo has no nutritional value. That people are able to afford that, and they are able to move from one point to the other. So those things also matter. Yes, I don't see. The president, yes, acknowledges every time he talks to Nigerians that, yes, he knows Nigerians are suffering. He knows the economy may be hard on Nigerians. He knows those policies may be. But at the same time, what are you doing with it? You promised to boost food supply in 2024, January 1st, where you said you will cultivate 500,000 acres of farmland to grow maize, rice, wheat, millets, and other crops. Look at our inflation, 34%, 34.something%. However, food inflation, is about 38%. So food is a major factor in inflation. So what are you doing to bring it down?
So talking about cost reduction, we've heard from Mr. President again. He's saying, he did say today that he will intensify efforts to lower costs by boosting food production and promoting local manufacturing. Are you saying these are the same strategies we've had before now?
Exactly what he told us 1st of January 2004. Now he should tell us, and that is what I was even expecting to hear, that, okay, we promised to do this last year. Now I'm happy to tell you that we promised 500 hectares of farmland, but due to we have been able to cultivate 250. That is half of it. And then we have done this in the area of rice, millet, and other staple crops, so that we know what we are chasing. Now you have promised us that you will do this in order to reduce the cost of food. But this is the year that ended. November inflation by NBS is saying that food inflation is the headline inflation in all what we have.
Well, we now have an inflation reduction target. Mr. President reiterated his ambition to reduce inflation from 34.6% to 15%. I've spoken to quite a number of economists who say it will take a miracle to achieve that feat, but he has reiterated it again. And he's saying that perhaps this is realistic. And he's also talking about steps that government can take to achieve it. What implications do you think achieving this target will have for economic stability and growth, just assuming that it works?
Well, as every knowledgeable person knows, when we are talking about inflation, we are talking about prices of goods and services. That is what we are talking about. Now, the people you spoke to that said it will take a miracle, and I'm also echoing what they've said, that it will take even more than a miracle to achieve 15% inflation. How do you want to do it? What are the plans? The one you promised last year has not materialized. We have not seen the effect. Now you are promising that you will. It doesn't depend on him. It depends on what.
But talking about the effect, you know, because there's need to balance our conversation as well. I read out some of the economic indicators that Mr. President mentioned earlier. It include what we've seen as a decrease in fuel prices. At least we now know that, well, you may not consider it substantial, but it's promising that with Warri Refinery working at 60% capacity, the P8 refinery started working last year alongside the Dangote refinery. It's possible that we see this price, you know, fall subsequently. It talked about foreign trade surpluses and how this is also strengthening the Naira. Quickly, because of our time, there is this concept that he has talked about, the National Values Charter and Orientation Campaign. And I think this is where the role of the people comes in, because we've spent the largest part of this conversation asking government, what have you done, what are you doing, and how will you do it differently? But do you see citizens, you know, civil society, other stakeholders playing any supportive role in this regard? He talked about launching a National Values Charter and a National Orientation Campaign, which he says is critical to help government achieve all of these promises.
Oh, well, I've said it earlier that government must evaluate the program. You know, when those programs, when they come on stream, the National Values Charter, you know, we must be able to say, yes, the drop in the price of fuel, for instance, has led to decrease in the transportation cost from Mile 12. When you go to Mile 12 to buy whatever it is you are buying, and you are taking it to Mushin, how much did it cost when it was 1,080 naira? How much is it now? Is it as a result of a drop, reduction as you call it, in price of petrol, a liter of petrol? So we must have cause and effect. If you say, yes, there is a reduction, yes, we want to know. Yes, it's a marginal decrease. Now, it should lead to a marginal decrease also on all products that depend on petrol, transportation. So government must be able to measure that. And that is what government will communicate to the people. All right. And not what it intends to do. Yes, when we reduce the cost of petrol from 1,080 naira to 925 naira in NNPC average, the downfall people that are taking people will now reduce their cost from that gather to mile 2, instead of 1,000 naira, it will now reduce to 800 naira. Yes, we will say yes, we have seen the effect. The people will say yes, we are seeing the effect.
All right.
And it will also touch down on the market women and all that.
Mr. Adeyinka, we have completely run out of time. We're going to have to find some other time to continue this conversation. But I am hopeful, I hope you are as well, as I believe every Nigerian should be on the first day of the year, to express some measure of optimism and hope that lines will fall upon us in pleasant places in the course of this year, even as we remain to, make the government accountable for all of its promises and policies. Data analyst, CEO, Data Home Research and Communication, Richard Adeyinka, thank you so much for talking to us on the program.
Thank you for having me.